So let's talk flies. My most successful spring fly for this season, and it was one that was slightly different to usual, I have to say. It's not been a great season, but those people that were catching fish that I heard about, and those people that did kind of well, were all using this fly. And I actually caught my biggest ever springer on it this year.
We got him! Whoa, it's a beauty!
Wow, wow, wow. What a fish. Whoa! So, yeah, I thought I'd share it with you because I'm all about sharing. It's this fly right here, and our Scandinavian friends will know it very well, but some of our Scottish anglers might not be so acquainted with it. It's a banana fly, but it's slightly different. Why is it slightly different? Looks the same? Well, just because it's kind of sparse. It's tied more in the Scottish style than the Scandinavian style. So for that purpose, we'll call it a wee banana to differentiate it from the kind of traditional banana fly that is so popular in Norway and Sweden in the summer. So I'm going to tie it for you. All right. First things first, we'll tie it on. I've been tying it on a little weighted tube. Now this is a little loop bottle tube. I'll put the link down below for anybody that's interested in them. It's small and it's heavy. You can tie this on anything, but I'm just going to show you what was working for me this spring. Something with a little bit of weight, but something small and weighty. Not big and weighty, small and weighty. I'm just going to tie a little tag at the back. I'm not going to be too precious about this. These tubes have little grooves in the back where you can add a little tag. I'm not going to bother varnishing it or anything. It doesn't matter. It's just a wee bit of thread. Yeah, I don't know if it makes that much of a difference, but you know, it's there anyway. It takes a second to do, so just whack it on. You can put tubing on this if you like fishing that way. So you can put a bit of tubing on, put your tubing on, or the way that we've been fishing it is with a swing tube. So you have the tube over the hook. So we're tying on the tube. So the bottle tube, these loop tubes I really like because you've got a little taper design which kind of helps you to form the shape of the fly, and you've also got quite a lot of weight, and the weight is up the front, so they're really well designed. They make the fly swim nice because you've got a little bit of the weight up the front. Really cool. I'll put the link down below. That's what I've been using. Nice weight, nice size, and help to build up the shape of the fly really easily. So a little hackle. I'm just using some kind of cheap generic yellow hen hackles. I like the hen hackles on these types of flies because it just gives it a little bit of shape and a little bit of bulk. You don't want it too bulky, but you do want that sort of teardrop shape. That's important on these flies. So I'll tie that in. Massage those feathers back a wee bit so we get a wee V there, and I help tie them in nice and neat. You notice I've left this here. I've not bothered clipping it off. It doesn't really matter because you're not going to see much of this hackle anyway. It's sort of like the base of the fly, and then tie that in. A little bit of the Vineyards varnish on the thread, and just wrap that in and give it a little bit extra security. I'm going to taper the colour in the wing a little bit. So I've got 3 basic shades here. So I've got the yellow. That's going to be my first one. That's quite bright. And then I've got sort of an olive, golden olive, and then this one, it's another type of golden olive, but it's got some black tips to it, so it kind of gives it a wee bit of like a finish. I've taken some of that yellow there, this yellow Arctic fox, and with the guard hailers, I've just gently pulled them up a little bit. Just gently pull them up a little bit, tease them, and you'll get that taper shape. That's the idea. That's what you're after. You want to build that taper right from the start, and then I'll tie it in. Just a couple. 1, 2. And then you get that lovely shape. And then take another hackle, slightly longer one, and tie this in. Just tease the feathers again. Do it nice. Now you see we got the shape starting to develop now, and there's hardly anything on it, and there's not going to be much more than that on it, to be honest. The shape of this bottle tube, this loop bottle tube, really helps with kind of accentuating that shape. Makes a nice fly. I'm going to skip this middle one, and I'm just going to tie a top one on. I like the look of that. I'll just put that over. It looks a bit much, so I'm going to take some of that away. I'm pulling out from the bottom here, from this stuff, so I can leave the guard hairs in. That's what gives the fly the movement, you know. And that is why, especially in Scotland, like, we love sparse flies, little shrimp flies and stuff like that. Ross MacDonald is the master of the shrimp fly. He invented the park shrimp. And when he ties a fly, there's hardly anything on it. Like, you can count the hairs and the tails and things like that. And you'd look at it and you'd go, oh, maybe a bit thin. And put it in the water and it becomes alive. It moves. Each individual fibre is all moving. And that is nature. You know, nature is you know, movement and you know, you see little kind of fish in the river, or little kind of whatever it is, sticklebacks and things like that. There's hardly anything to them, and they're almost see-through, translucent, but you see all those little shimmers, flickers and things. That's what we're trying to emulate. Obviously, you know, there's a balance there when making flies. You're trying to make something that attracts fish, and you're trying to make something that almost looks a little bit out of the ordinary to attract the fish's attention. But a fly has to look similarly real and unreal at the same time in order to be effective to catch a salmon. So there we go. Let's have a wee quick check in that. Looks okay. Just take your time, just sort of spread these fibres around. You do it with your thumb and just sort of push it around. Make sure you've got a nice sort of back to the fly. Make sure that wing is nice and tapered. Looks pretty good. And wet my fingers and just wet the tips, draw them together so I can get the idea what it looks like, the taper. And that looks fine. I'll take a wee bit of flash, golden something, angel hair in some shade of yellow, gold, olivey colour. Something that matches the fly, you know. It's not rocket science when it comes to flash. And I just take a tiny amount. In fact, this is actually too much. So just tie that in one side, and then I tie it in again. And the reason I do this is because it just spreads it out a little bit and makes it not become one big bulk. I'm just going to gently work it so it spreads out, taper it. And that, for me, is enough flash. That's hardly anything. You know, most of it's wasted. I mean, it's probably pretty not the best way to tie in the flash. It just gives it, like, it's just gentle. It's just like it's just a hint. And then I'll have one strand of crystal flash, and I'll tie it in, and double it, and that's like a topping instead of peacock. And that's it. So there we go, the wee banana. It's really simple. Bit of Arctic fox, bit of hen hackle, yellow and olive, and your tube of choice. There you go.